All right, we are live in beautiful, sunny Florida, and today, fight fans, we're going to be breaking down UFC 217 in New York, Madison Square Garden. George St. Pierre returns to take on Michael Bisping for the middleweight championship of the world. And it's not just that, man. This is easily one of the best pay-per-views of the year. You got 3 title fights, including a real interesting grudge match, which I refer to as the real main event here. Garbrandt versus Dillashaw is an excellent fight, packed with tons of fun in the prelims as well. And as you guys can see, I'm joined by a couple of friends here to help break down the card with me. We got the returning Sebs. This is his second appearance on the show. And finally, we got my man, Rockstar Z, back on the show. He took a little break, but he's back here. So, Z, tell the people what's been up, man, and tell them about this little win streak you've got going on lately since coming back.
Oh, yeah. 2-0 on events. It's quite a streak, I guess. But, yeah, I just had a good summer, took a step back, got some good perspective, got to, look at my record and see what I was doing wrong, and just have a fresh approach. And honestly, I was sick of watching fights, been doing it for 2 or 3 years. So to take a couple months off, I think was really good. And I'm stoked to break down this card with you guys.
For sure, man. Sebs, tell the people what's up, man. And tell them how you absolutely murdered the game last week.
Last week we went plus 15.6 units, guys. Huge win. I think I went 8-1 in bets last week and 11-1 in picks. Only one who screwed me up was Font, or we would have had the sweep. Really stoked as well to break down this card, man. I think this one of every time I've been here, it's been the best card. I was here at 214, probably the best card of the year before that, and now I think this is the best card of the year so far.
So I got to be honest with you guys, it kind of sucks. I am on a 3-event losing streak, but I think this is no better event than ever to get back on track here. And I do indeed have 5 plays. Very excited to talk about all those. And I know these guys got some plays as well. So really fun show ahead. And we got, what do we got, like a 12-fight card here? So starting from the bottom, man, first fight of the night, we do have Ricardo Ramos taking on Amin Zahabi, both guys coming in here on their sophomore debut. Ricardo Ramos minus 185, Amin Zahabi plus 160. I'm going to let Rockstar Z take the first go on this one.
Yeah, second fight for both guys. I think they both looked a little flat in their debuts. They both had close fights, but upon rewatching it, a lot of people said that Zahabi looked really bad in his debut, and at first I thought that was just because of all the hype, and then he kind of had a flat performance. But no, he looked bad. He's very inactive. He got bombed on a lot. That might have been just the bright lights in his debut. His skills are there. When he did decide to pull the trigger, he was hurting the Brazilian cat. But in this fight, I think the length of Ramos is going to give him trouble because he sits back so much. And Ramos has a really good ground game too. His top game is sick, good submissions, aggressive on the ground. So I think the line's accurate. But because we might see a Zahabi who comes in more comfortable in the second appearance, I can easily just pass on this fight. It's not something I want to touch from a betting perspective. But the pick will be Ricardo Ramos.
Sebs?
Yeah, pretty much to quote what Z said. I thought Zahabi looked pretty flat as well coming out in his UFC debut. A lot of hype behind this kid, being Frost's brother and whatnot. And even a lot of knockouts and finishes on his record, man. And I thought he was going to come out and he was going to starch a guy like Reginaldo Vieira. I thought he would starch him, and he came out and he didn't look good. It looked at some points like he was startled. That's at the beginning of the second round. As soon as he got clipped by Reginaldo at one point, it looks like he just doesn't want to be in there anymore. And Frost has to kind of tell him in the corner, man, we need this last round to win the fight. So, but yeah, he looked all right considering he dropped him at one point and whatnot. But it was his UFC debut. I don't know how much to say that because it was his debut, he looked like that. But Ricardo Ramos, on the other hand, like Z was saying, man, he's got some slick fucking jiu-jitsu. I think he looked good. That he was found on Dana White's looking for a fight. The only loss, I think, is to Manny Vasquez, who is actually a bulldog himself. It wasn't a great matchup for him. Or that might have been, yeah. And then Ricardo Ramos, man, just like he's going to be the I think he's going to have the reach advantage, the length, the height advantage, and he's just going to be able to pick apart Zahabi at distance. If this goes to the ground, I'm with Ramos all day there too. So the pick's Ramos, but I'm passing as well from a betting perspective.
Yeah, so I'm going to complete the trifecta here. I'm going to go with Ricardo Ramos. And I was talking to Z before the show, and what I was saying about Ayman Zahami, he comes off as a guy to me that's he doesn't have a whole lot of athleticism behind him. He's kind of slow, but the dude's like real technical. You can tell he has real great fight IQ. He did what he needed to do to win that fight in his UFC debut. It just looked like a case of he was way too conservative. I think if he comes out here just as conservative against Ricardo Ramos, he is going to get he's probably going to get lit up and out volume severely on the feet. I think he can use that 4-inch reach advantage, jab the guy up, kick him to death. And if it goes down to the mats, I think it's probably going to be Zahabi going for a takedown, if anything. And if it gets there, I'm not so confident either guy is the superior grappler by a huge amount. I think we'll probably see some real close 6 scrambles. So I'm hoping to see a nice little jiu-jitsu match here. I think that'd be nice. But when it comes to betting and DraftKings perspective, I'm just passing on this fight altogether. But I do think it's going to be a fun one for sure, man. So my official prediction, though, I'm going to say Ricardo Ramos takes a 29-28 decision. So moving on to the next fight here, man, we got Corey Anderson plus 140 taking on Ovince St. Preux minus 160. I'll start. Seb's gonna start out with this one.
All right, cool, man. Yeah, so Ovince is taking this on short notice, and can't be a good matchup already for Corey Anderson just because Ovince coming on short notice as a southpaw. He was fighting Patrick Cummins beforehand, a super chinny wrestler. That's something that Ovince isn't. Ovince is a little bit chinny, but he can take a little bit more of a beating than Patrick Cummins is. Patrick Cummins is a glass jaw to the glass fucking jaw. But where I side with Corey Anderson in here is after tape. I was actually leaning pretty hard on OSP. But after tape, man, Corey Anderson, his pace that he sets and his combinations that he sets up for the takedowns is what's going to make the difference here. It's going to wear on OSP, who is known not to have a great gas tank, and I think he gets the job done via decision, 30-27. Well, I'll give him 29-28. I'll say OSP wins a round, but Corey Anderson via decision. But I'm passing on this fight.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one, man. I feel like OSP just fought like 2 or 3 weeks ago, probably because he did fight 2 or 3 weeks ago, but obviously took no damage in that fight, so he should be nice and fresh in here and super warmed up, if anything. Corey Anderson obviously coming off a knockout. What was that? I think that was February or March. He took the proper amount of time off, but is that time off going to hurt him? I think that's really what's keeping me away from an underdog play on Corey Anderson here, because I do see a path to victory for him. We've seen OSP get taken down and out-wrestled over the course of 3 to 5 rounds before, like guys like Ryan Bader. I'm not saying Corey Anderson is a Ryan Bader by any means, but I do think it could happen. I don't think it's the most likely thing. I think the biggest factor here probably is the chinny chin of Corey Anderson, and OSP. He packs bombs, man. So I can see OSP finishing him real early, if anything. I think OSP might be a decent play on DraftKings, because if he wins, I think he puts Anderson away early, but I'm staying away from it. I'm staying away from it altogether, man. I actually did play a little bit of Corey Anderson on DraftKings just because he's such a huge underdog, and I feel like if he wins, he's going to be landing a lot of takedowns. So I got Corey and DraftKings, but from a betting perspective, I'm passing on it. Official prediction, though, I am going to go with the OSP first round knockout. Z, what do you think?
I like OSP in this fight, man. Like the thing with Corey Anderson is he fought Jimmy Manawan, got starched, right? So he took time off, and then he was coming back versus Pat Cummins, who was a good fight for him in this spot because he's like not lethal, not very threatening. They can kind of just wrestle each other, see who the better scrambler is, and you know, not a very dangerous fight. But now you got an unorthodox switch stance, bomber in Ovince St. Preux, who just fought recently, so he's in great shape. It's not like he's coming off the couch to take this fight. And also important to note that he was training for Shogun when he fought Okami, and then yeah, Shogun pulled out. And then he got like just an easy win, like you said, like, you know, sub 2 minute win, took no damage. So he's fresh as a daisy, coming in, fighting frequently, and he's super dangerous. And like you guys alluded to, Corey Anderson doesn't have the best durability. So not only is he not durable, but he gets hit with left hooks a lot, and that's Ovince's best punch. The other thing to note too is like Ovins is a lot bigger than him. So if he wants to try to hustle and kind of grind out Ovins St. Preux, make him work, I'm not really sure that's an easy task. And it's not like has unlimited cardio. You know what I mean? He fades too, and Ovins gets third round KOs. Like he holds his power late into the fight. So for all those reasons, I'm not mad at playing Ovins St. Preux straight up, or even poke the KO prop, although I'm trying to avoid those, as I've said many times in the past. But yeah, so I like Ovin St. Preux to find the chin and finish Corey Anderson. The last point I'm going to make here too is that Ovins has a lot more experience at a high level, and he's also fought higher level fighters. Like he's been fighting, you know, in Strikeforce, in the UFC for a long time, but also his opponents are much higher caliber than anyone Corey Anderson's fought, or at least higher caliber than anyone Corey Anderson has beaten. And if you want to say that he can get grinded out, like Glover did that to him, but Glover took shots early in that fight that will for sure end Corey Anderson. So I think Ovins isn't really the guy you want to trust because he's not extremely well trained. Like he does get a little sloppy. There's a gas tank issue. But I think he's got the firepower to take Corey Anderson out. And the last point I'll make on this is he did gas out hard against Jimmy Manawa, but I think that was a combination of flying across the Atlantic and also taking vicious body shots in that fight. And Corey Anderson is simply not the caliber of striker that Jimmy Manawa is. So again, for all those reasons, could he gas out and get grinded out? Sure, but I think Ovin St. Preux finishes Corey Anderson, and I'm not mad at betting that.
So moving on to the next fight, man. We got Curtis Razor Blades minus 400 taking on Alexei Olenek plus 325. And I'm going to start out with this one, man. First things first, this is one of the bigger value plays on DraftKings you're ever going to see. So you got Curtis Blades minus 400 in the betting odds, and he is priced on DraftKings at $8,000. And for you non-DraftKings players that don't know, 8,100 would be your like even money fighter. So Curtis Blades slight underdog on DraftKings, which is crazy considering he's minus 400. So of course I did play a whole lot of Curtis Blades on DraftKings, and I do think he wins the fight, man. And I think he makes it ugly, kind of similar to his last fight, man. Daniel Olmanchek and Blades' last fight, he was just a real strong, stocky, tough guy to take down. But the athleticism and the size of Blades allowed him to basically just push him up and bully him against the cage. And I think he can kind of do the same thing to Alexei Olenek here, if not, keep range, use the jab. And I do think he probably has the better overall boxing game than Alexei Olenek. Maybe Alexei has a lot more power, but I think Curtis Blades has a real good chin for even heavyweight standards, just because of the Francis Ngannou fight showed how tough that guy is. It took a doctor to get him out of there, man. He took some big shots and ate them all. So I'm not worried about Alexei landing a big shot. If there's anything to worry about here for a Blades better, it would probably be Blades landing takedowns and Alexei pulling off some kind of crazy submission on the ground. So I think it's in Blades' best interest to use his wrestling and reverse here and stuff takedowns from Olenek and kind of outstrike him and push him against the cage and make it a very dominant yet slow-paced 3-round contest here. So I got Curtis Blades here via a 30-27 decision, and this is my first bet of the night. I took 2 units on the over 1.5 rounds at minus 135 to win 1.48. I know taking an over 1.5 in a heavyweight fight is definitely risky business, but I see it as a very very likely outcome here. So I got Curtis Blades 30-27 decision. What about you, Z?
I like that you bet the over instead of laying the chalk on Blades, because although he's a promising prospect, like athletic and everything, he's hidden behind a big number here. And my take on this is like, sure, if he should probably win, right? Like it's an older guy, smaller guy, who doesn't take shots very well, who doesn't have the best striking or wrestling. But if Olenek finds his back or gets his neck somehow, I'm not sure that Curtis Blades has the composure to fight out of that, being, he's only has 9 fights in MMA. So I definitely don't want to lay the chalk. I don't really want to take the shot on the underdog, though, just because I do feel like it's going to be Curtis Blades just beasting him. And actually, that over, I'm not sure about that because Curtis could land bombs. Like he comes out before he starts to tire. He looks very like light on his feet, hits hard, and his striking looks like it's improving fight to fight. So he could be very dangerous in the early rounds. But I'm not touching this just because I don't think he can get out of a choke if Alexi does find his back. So for me, it's just a clear pass. Bookie got it right.
Sebs?
Yeah, I think the bookie has this line a little bit too wide for Blades, man. I think Oleinik is like a tough guy, tough Russian savage. Definitely, like if you're ready to go into the clinch with him, which is something obviously Blades likes to do, goes for his takedowns but he goes more for open mat takedowns and whatnot. But if that's something he does in this fight, I think he'll be in trouble against Oleinik. Oleinik is fucking obviously very dangerous on the floor and pulled off that nasty Ezekiel choke against Victor Pesta, pulled off that kind of like head compress, whatever that was, like on Travis Brown. That was like a dangerous submission. Z knows what I'm talking about. Dangerous head compression. And then like
he doesn't need it. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't need it to be under the chin. His squeeze is so sick. And you see him just breathing with it. He's like, okay, I got time. Just chill and just keep squeezing. So if that happens, like Blades is in trouble, man.
That's what I'm saying, and that's pretty much why I'm passing on this fight, guys. Is I do think Blades will be able to get him down and like work because Oleinik tends to let you work a little bit when he's on the bottom trying to set up submissions, but he's very sneaky. So I'm not sure exactly who's even going to win this fight. I took Blades on DraftKings because I think he's going to land a few takedowns that's going to get my points up and whatnot, and I think he can edge out a decision. So I took him on DraftKings because of the prices were just ridiculous on him. But other than that, yeah, I passed completely on this fight.
All right, so moving on here, man. We got Ion Cutelaba minus 550 taking on Michael Oleksiejczuk, and I'm gonna start with Z on this one.
I was before the lines dropped. I was real, hoping to bet on Ion Cutelaba, but again, the bookie hit him behind minus 400. I think, I'm pretty sure he wins this fight. The thing with McHale is he takes damage early in all of his fights, and you just can't do that versus Ion because Ion, again, might not be the best trained fighter, but the hardware that he brings into the cage, that durability, that physicality, the aggression, and the willingness to throw bombs, he's like a 205 John Lineker, right? So I just think he's going to bring the fight to him and just absolutely murk him. But when I looked into this harder because the line was so big, McHale is kind of a sneaky southpaw. He does southpaw things like he snipes the cross. He is pretty experienced in his own right. But there's no way I'm going to bet the underdog here. I think Ion murks him, but the line's too big for me. So easy pass.
Yeah, so for me personally, man, it seems like there's always one fight every card that I kind of just skip over for tape study, and this was the fight I didn't do a whole lot of research on just because I felt like, newcomer coming in against Ion. Ion's going to be minus 400 anyway. Lo and behold, he is minus 550 here, so obviously not looking to play Ion Cutelaba at minus 550 here. The little bit that I did see of this guy, he's really just your average run-of-the-mill Euro light heavyweight, and I think Ion Cutelaba should bring forth the pressure and the big bombs that he throws at people, and I think he should probably get this guy out of there early. If for whatever reason there's any kind of problems he has on his feet, he has that Greco-Roman wrestling base. He can absolutely 100% out-wrestle this guy if need be. So I think Ion Cutelaba is probably one of the safer picks of the card, and then, obviously the betting odds show that. So big pass here. I am playing a little bit of Ion Cutelaba on DraftKings because he probably will end up going in there and getting a first-round knockout here. So I got Ion Cutelaba first-round knockout. Not a whole lot to say. I think he just goes in there, throws bombs, and the guy falls down. Sebs, what about you, man?
Yeah, I actually did a lot of tape study on this fight. As much tape study as you can do on Mika. I watched I believe three or four of his fights. The fights I could watch, and then obviously on Ion. Ion with the 12 years of Greco-Roman wrestling, his cardio, his pace, for a light heavyweight is something to behold. And this guy has a chin on him like crazy, man. His fight against Cannonier is one of one of the
Yeah.
sickest fights you'll ever watch.
Yeah.
Go back and watch that fight if you guys
Kelton, do
haven't.
yourself a favor. Go back and watch that one.
Yeah, that was good for tape study there, Kelton. But other than that, man, the Ion has a lot of power in his like one punch knockout power. He's got some dangerous takedowns as well. A lot of guys don't know about his takedowns and his wrestling. Like I said, his Greco-Roman background really comes into play. He's got nice combos, works the body and works the head really nice. And this guy, Mikal, exactly like Z was saying, he gets hurt early, man. He takes a lot of damage early, man. It takes shots. You can see he got dropped in one of his fights. I don't know exactly who he was fighting. Got dropped with a straight right real quick. Got up, ended up finishing the guy. I think
it was his last fight.
Yeah, it was his last fight to get him into the UFC, which is surprising. Like I understand, like it shows like he's relentless and everything, and he's a survivor. But man, like he's sloppy. He was like swinging bombs. He's like spamming left uppercuts and whatnot, and he's really open for these bombs that Eon's gonna throw, I think. And so I do have Eon, and I took the chalk, guys. I didn't take it at minus 550 or whatever it's at now. That's crazy, but I took it at minus 425, I think. With I parlayed it with something later in the card for 4 units. So I do like Kudalaba a lot here, guys.
Yeah, I think that's solid. And one more thing to say is he's coming in on short notice because Gadzi Murad Antigulov was the guy who was supposed to fight Kudlaba, and so he pulled out. And just imagine, like, not only just the hardware, like the physicality that he brings into the cage, but that presence, the way he stares you down, the way he didn't want to shake hands at the stare downs.
It was the stare downs was serious today. The stare downs was serious.
He lets you know. You know what I mean? So to come in on short notice in your debut, the guy's a bit bigger than you. He's scary. Like I think this is a real bad look for McHale. It kind of reminds me of when Marcin Held made his debut against Sanchez at altitude. You know, like you just don't want that type of fight for your debut. A guy who's going to bring the fight to you right away.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly, 100%. I agree with Z 100% there, guys.
Yeah, Eon really has that intimidation factor to where he can get a lot of guys beat before the fight, and I actually think that's what happened with Frankenstein in his last bout. He had
that. Frankenstein didn't even want to be in the octagon.
No,
that was just embarrassing. But moving on here, man, this fight's been getting a lot of talk. Probably the most talked about fight on this prelim.
100%.
We got Mickey Gall minus 120 taking on Randy Rude Boy Brown plus 100. And Sebs, I'll start with you on this one.
All right, man. So Mickey Gall, let's start off with his fights, okay? Ron Templeton is what got him into the UFC. After he beat Ron Templeton, this nobody. He got into the UFC, called out CM Punk. They gave him a journalist, a guy with the same background as me in journalism. He works for an MMA website, which is embarrassing. They got that poor guy, matched him up with Mickey Gall, an analyst, and that guy got broken down within seconds. Obviously, he was taking it. He honestly said he was taking the fight as like as a project or something to see if he can be a fighter. That's not what you want to hear. So that's already 2 strikes for Mickey Gall. 3rd strike, you fought CM Punk. I know somebody has to do it. You fought CM Punk, bro. So that's not too good on his part right there. And then you go ahead and you fight a model, Sage Northcutt, who's not doesn't come as advertised, obviously. Does not have a chin whatsoever. And then to pack it all off, man, Mickey has no stand-up. You can see in the Sage Northcutt fight, he's getting picked apart. He throws these looping right hands, and if he doesn't connect with you, he's going in and he's trying to take you down right away. I think that's not going to work against Randy Brown, who's going to shoot for underhooks right away. He's going to look for dangerous Muay Thai knees in the clinch. He's a very dangerous striker, and he pulls off submissions in the second round or the second and third round, somewhere Mickey Gall has never been. He's never been past the 7.5 minute mark, guys. That's a big thing, man. He's never been 15 minutes in a fight. Never in his whole career. So that's a big thing. If he gets dragged into the third round, who knows how he's going to look, especially with his grappling and everything. So for that, man, 100%. I think he has no stand-up compared to Randy Brown. I put 5 units on Randy Brown max bet. I got him at I put actually 4 units first on at minus 128, and then I got him at minus 117 with another unit to win 3.97 units. So I'm very confident in this pick.
Yeah, man. So I do agree with Sebs on pretty much everything he said here. Mickey Gall, and I'm not saying Mickey Gall can never be anything, but he hasn't proven anything yet. He hasn't beaten a good fighter. I'm not going to run through the list of guys he fought just like Sebs did, but man. And another thing is, a lot of people want to talk about Mickey Gall. He has such good jiu-jitsu, though. He's such a good jiu-jitsu guy. Well, first off, how do you really know that when he's never really went in there with somebody that good? And it's not that high level to where he's just going to go out there, take Randy Brown, and submit him easy as that. Simple said and done. That's really most people's arguments here is he should be able to get Randy Brown down, take him down like Randy Brown's been taken down before, and submit the guy. But he doesn't have Damian Maya level jiu-jitsu. He just can't go out there and do that. I just think this is a lot of hype right here, and I think Randy Brown is the guy that's actually a little, I would say, overlooked a little bit. The guy's got a lot of good things about him. He's lost a couple fights. He's got a winning UFC record, guys. Randy Brown he's 3-2 in the UFC. The 2 guys he lost to Bilal Muhammad, who's a great fighter, man. He went in there toe-to-toe with him. He overcame adversity. I know it was against a Montano brother, but he did pull off a 3rd-round submission in a fight he was arguably down 2-0. So the dude showed heart. The dude showed that he can go out there and strike with top-notch guys like Bilal Muhammad. I think on the feet, it really isn't even close here. Randy Brown can use that reach. I believe he has somewhere around a 4 to 5 inch reach advantage here. Mickey Gall, like I said, like Seb said, he doesn't really have the striking. The striking's really just not there yet. And maybe it can be one day, man, but against a guy who's so hard to, strike with, a huge guy like Randy Brown, man. I mean, don't forget, Mickey Gall was talking about going down to 155 pounds after his last fight. So we're not dealing with an extremely large welterweight here. We are with Randy Brown. So I think he can use that size to stuff takedowns, and I think he can use the reach he has to land jabs and kick away at Mickey Gall. I want to say he'll probably win a decision here, but a late stoppage just wouldn't exactly surprise me. I also have a play on Randy Brown here. I have just 1 unit on him, 1 unit parlayed with him somebody later in the card. And I did go decently big on Randy Brown in DraftKings as well. So Randy Brown all the way here, man. Z, what do you think?
I think Randy Brown's the dog right now. I'm looking at the odds. So
yeah, he is. He's the dog.
105. Honestly, I was looking to pass this fight just because my take on it is that you can't really judge Mickey Gall based on the competition he's fought because he's beaten all those guys. Like, yeah, he got tagged a little bit by Northcutt. Northcutt's not a real striker, but he is explosive and quick, so he can get to you. But I mean, like, Randy Brown hasn't really beaten anybody either. Yeah, he's beaten more legit competition than Mickey Gall has, but every time Randy Brown stepped up, he loses rather. He gives his back a lot when he's taken down and trying to get back up. So I think Gall could snatch that up. But honestly, when I'm listening to you guys and now I see the price is like plus 105 on Pinnacle here, I might take a shot too. I always thought Randy Brown had a lot of potential. Playing at the edge of the pocket, like he loves to just like in and out, snipe you. And there was one sequence, I could be wrong, I believe it was at the end of the 2nd round where he hits Bilal with like a 4-piece combo moving backwards, going in and out of the pocket that whole time. And like you guys said, Bilal Muhammad's a real fighter, one of the best trained strikers, honestly in the UFC. I think like everything is just super crisp with Bilal. So Randy did face some adversity there and he lost that fight. But again, he took like fights, like he was fighting every 2 months in that span. So I think he was kind of burnt out. I think the time off has helped him here. And I'm going to have to look closer into this fight. But you guys have moved me from a pass to a potential dog play.
All right. So moving on here, man, we got the fight that could have been. We got Walt Harris minus 400 taking on Mark Godbeer plus 325. Just talked about this fight last month, man, and it's funny. It's here again. Walt Harris coming off that Fabricio Verdum fight. But I'll start with Z on this one, man.
I mean, I don't want to trust Harris here at this price, man. I'm just going to look up real quick. Like, he opened against Cyril Asker at minus 215. Cyril Asker is a terrible heavyweight. That's why I hammered that bet. And I think I actually got like minus 180 on that. But here, when you're talking about minus 400 for Walt Harris, a guy who Cyril Asker rocked, that's too scary for me, man. Like, I don't think Godbeer is a world beater by any means, and he's probably going to lose this fight. But you just, like, history has shown us, you don't trust Walt Harris. As imposing as he looks, you don't trust him when there's this big number beside his name. So I honestly didn't look into this fight very much. I remember Mark Godbeer's debut. Haven't seen the Spitz fight since it happened. So yeah, I'll pick Harris, but no way I'm trusting him for that spot. Dog or pass.
Sebs?
Yeah, Harris has got some crisp boxing, man. I think he's like 26 or 23-0 in amateur boxing. He's got some really nice hands. Obviously, we saw him against Verdum. That was just like no harm, no foul fight against Verdum, where he just like went in there. If he won, he would be such a superstar. If he lost, it doesn't really matter. He just comes and he fights in Godbeard. It's kind of like what they told him. Probably if he didn't get injured, he'd fight Godbeard on the next pay-per-view or something. So in this fight, like he says, man, this is just a pass just because of the number beside Walt Harris's name. I can't trust him. That's a guy who I've seen quit in fights, and if you quit in fights, I can't trust you at minus 400 and stuff like that. That's just ridiculous. We've seen him quit in fights like that. That's legit. Like turn his head and like nearly tapped his strikes, and I just think against a guy like Godbeer, Godbeer's a potential live dog here, but I'm not playing either guy. I'm passing on this 100%. I don't even think I have either guy on DraftKings, so it's a complete pass for me. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, man, just like last time I picked it, I am going to go with Walt Harris, and there's really no surprise there because, I like the dude. He's made a lot of improvements in his career. It looks like he really found himself, and he's putting everything together, and he's going out there and knocking out guys like Chase Sherman, who, granted not the best in the world, but not much worse than Mark Godbeer, man. Mark Godbeer's the guy that got submitted by a boxer in his UFC debut, went to a decision with Daniel Spitz in his last fight. Very underwhelming European brawler, basically. I think Walt Harris is a lot more athletic, explosive, a lot more power on the feet. I think it's only a matter of time before either guy lands a big shot and somebody goes down. The play I've seen on this fight get played a lot that I actually like, and I do think it's the best play on this fight. Is probably the under 1.5 rounds. Not sure what it's at right now. It might not even be playable at this point. It's minus 140, which not too bad. Not too bad, man, but I'd like some plus money there. But still, this fight's a pass for me from a betting perspective. Like I said, I like Walt Harris, that he's made improvements and he's out there knocking guys out that he's supposed to, but I don't like him so much that I'm going to go out there and play him at minus 400, especially at a weight class like heavyweight where anybody could really go down at any time. Mark Godbeer does have a lot of knockouts on his record, but yeah, man, I'm gonna go with Harris. First round knockout. I think it's simply he's much more explosive. I believe he's the way bigger guy here as well, man. So yeah, I got Walt Harris first round knockout. So moving on to the next fight here, man, the very last fight of the prelims. We got Joseph Duffy minus 200 taking on James Vick plus 170. And I'm going to start with Sebs on this one.
All right. So my man Joseph Duffy, Irish Joe Duffy, I know he hasn't faced the stiffest competition in his UFC career other than Dustin Poirier, who did beat him ultimately. But this guy's faced guys that are tough, like Reza Madadi. Reza Madadi is no slouch, man. A lot of people underestimate Reza Madadi, but he's no slouch. He's never been finished in his UFC career. Just like going back and just I know a lot of people like to say like he finished a young Conor McGregor, but it's not like Joe Duffy wasn't young too at that time. He was young. He was the same age, if not younger, than Conor. I'm pretty sure by 1 year. But his boxing, he's 7-0 in professional boxing, 3-0 as a kickboxer. This guy is a legit striker, man, and he's a very, very, very technical striker. I think he throws beautiful, crisp combos inside the pocket. He gets in and out of range very well. And once he gets inside the range, he likes to unload on a three-piece combo a lot, like going one and two to the body, and then upstairs for his other shot. He has a very well-timed knee as well. That comes, as you saw for sure on tape study. When, as soon as the guy comes for a level change, he's dropping that knee, and it hits them almost nearly every time. If not in the body, it's in the face. And he's very accurate with it. He's knocked out a few guys with it on the regional scene and back on Cage Warriors. So and then looking at James Vick, I was initially leaning on him, and Vick in his fights, he always gets hit a lot, man. I see him, like everyone was saying, like, oh, he's gonna be the better striker. He has a reach advantage, everything. He doesn't like to utilize his reach. He's not a guy who doesn't understand how to utilize his reach yet. I understand he's improving and everything on his striking, and he's got some slick jiu-jitsu. Like, he's no slouch. Vic is probably the livest dog on this card, if I had to pick one. But or one of the livest dogs on this card. Sorry, because I have a couple on play. But if I had to go, and I had to say, stand-up wise, I think Joseph Duffy lights him up, man. I think Duffy lights up Vic, and just like not with the same pressure that Beneil Dariush did, but ultimately just picks him apart and finds his chin and eventually cracks him in the later of the third round. If not, he gets a decision win. So I put 4 units on Duffy at -176 to win 2.27 units, and I got 2.5 units on the over rounds here at one. I don't know why it was over 1.5. Both these guys are tough motherfuckers, so I think it's definitely going to go over 1.5, -165 to win 1.51 units.
Oh, Kelton's gone.
Oh, is he?
Man, I like that over, man. I didn't see that it was 1.5. So that's pretty good. I think there's just a huge speed advantage for Duffy here. Like, he's so fluid and loose with his combos, you know? And if he can get inside, like, Vic does have that tall man's defense where his defense is distance. So if Duffy can use that little, like, that skip or that step to get inside and start unloading, then Vic's hands come up, then he digs the body, like you said, that knee. That knee is so nasty. It comes off like a jab, you know. It's just lightning quick.
Super quick, and he's super quick off his lead leg. Like, when he throws like a high kick too, he's like really quick with it.
I was just gonna say that too, man. No telegraph, and you know, it's not impossible for him to get it up there. You know what I mean? Like, he could definitely head kick Vic.
Yeah.
The thing here is, I think what Vic should want to do is try to get the plum on him, push him up against the fence, and just make him bear his body weight, because Vic will be the larger man here. And one thing I noticed about Duffy's fights, gasses when he's forced to grapple. Like, that's why Dustin got to him. And actually, at the end of the first round against Reza, he was looking a little tired, but Reza kind of was hanging back because he had blood in his eyes, and that allowed Duffy to find his wind again. And so if he's at range striking, he won't gas out and he can recover. But if he's forced to bear the weight of James Vick and grapple with him, he could gas out, and Vic could lock up the darts from top, or or just simply beat him, right? But I don't see Vic employing that type of game plan. You know what I mean? I think Vic's going to try to utilize his range, his reach, throw those kicks, throw those jabs. But I think the kicks, they come off so slow. Like he kicks and he's got power, but he doesn't reset too fast. And those are the openings where I think Duffy can come in and just unload those hands. You know,
he throws a lot of naked leg kicks too. Sorry to interrupt you. I see he throws a lot of naked leg kicks, man.
Yeah, everything. Like, when he's at range, he'll just throw a kick out of nowhere, right? So I think that's an opening for Duffy to get inside. And if he does, man, he's going to hurt him to the head or to the body. And also, Duffy has a mad leg kick, too. Like, he can chop, you know? So if he's chopping the larger man at range, and then all of a sudden Vic's, you know, slower and more stationary, then Duffy can play that in and out game at the edge of the pocket. And I think he's just so much faster with the hands that he'll get to James Vick. So I can see Duffy winning either a decision or a knockout, in my opinion. But Kelton, you were gone for it. So my take on Vic is the way he wins this fight is to get it into the clinch and push him up against the fence, really wear on him, make Duffy bear his weight. And if he does that, I think Duffy can gas out, because I said in the Dustin Poirier fight, Duffy, his gas tank didn't look that good. And against Reza at the end of the first round, his gas tank didn't look that good, but that's because he was forced to grapple. If he's out in open space, he doesn't really gas out. It's only when he's forced to grapple with guys that I noticed his gas tank does diminish. So there you go. I'm going with Joe Duffy. And I'm going to put a bet on him too. I'm probably going to pull the trigger right now because I got minus 190 actually.
Let's get
I'm going to go 3 units right now, boys. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, so I actually think this is an extremely close fight, man, because I see really clear paths for both guys. I do think Joe Duffy is probably the better technical boxer, and I can see him ripping James Vick up on the feet, just like he got ripped up on the feet by Beneil Dariush. But I see holes in Joseph Duffy's game as well, and I could see James Vick taking advantage of that. I mean, we saw Dustin Poirier, who's a former 145 pounder, was able to go out there and out wrestle Joseph Duffy and grind him out. And like Z said, Duffy's gas tank is, I don't want to say suspect or terrible or anything, but it's really not the best. And I would say James Vick has the better gas tank, despite that horrible weight cut he goes through all the time. But yeah, I mean, speaking of the weight cut, obviously James Vick, one of the biggest guys in the weight class, so I can see him, like Z said, going in there and pushing Duffy up and beating him up in the clinch. I can see him landing tons of knees, elbows. I could see him really piecing him up there. I can see him taking him down. And what I really can see, I can see him utilizing the jab, man, because like Seb said, his striking really wasn't there at one point, but it really is improving over time. This guy's a real student of the game, and he's really ever improving. And the guy's got a real good UFC record, man. I mean, one doesn't simply go 7-1 in the UFC. James Vick goes out there and wins fights, and he goes out there and wins fights as the dog as well. Last fight against Abel Trujillo as a dog, and he was able to go out there and win wrestling exchanges with a good college wrestler in Abel Trujillo. So I think Vic could wrestle Duffy here. I think he could push him up against the cage, but honestly, man, my brain really tells me that Joseph Duffy will probably be able to go out there and outstrike him.
He's just so much faster, man.
Yeah,
he is.
His jab is lightning fast, like Z is saying, man. Like I know you're saying like Vic might be able to utilize his jab, but I think the way he comes in and out of range is like something to behold on Joseph Duffy. It's just like, and like Z says, like his jab is just so much quicker. He's gonna be able to pop off 2 or 3 before Vic even lands 1.
Right.
And if Vic shells up, he's digging to the body,
Yeah.
But we are also seeing him again, Joseph Duffy, that is. We are seeing him against guys like Jake the Librarian, Lindsay, and Reza Madadi, the guys who aren't exactly that fast and quick and great strikers. But I don't know, man. It's so close. So that being said, I was able to get some money in on James Vick at plus 180. I put 1 unit on Vic plus 180. I kind of wanted more. I just put 1 just in case.
At plus 180, I see the value though, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to put more in. And, if it got better than plus 180 from that point, I would have put 1 more, but it got worse. So I'm just sticking with the 1 unit on James Vick here at plus 180. I see a lot of value in that, and I don't feel bad about just taking a 1 unit poke on a guy that probably should only be like plus 100, minus 110, if anything, man. So close fight. Actually, this is one of 2 fights I just put a little silly $5 on for the draw to hit here. This fight and another fight later in the card, I can kind of see a situation where Joseph Duffy beats the hell out of Vic in the first round, drops him a couple times. Then, like Z said, that gas tank, who knows if it holds up. Maybe Vic out-wrestles him the second 2 rounds. So who knows, man? Maybe we could see a draw here. That'd be nice for my case, but fun fight, man. So I'm going to go with Vic, and I'm going to say 29-28 split decision, because I know my man Dan Levy is going to love me here saying that James Vick is about to win a grimy split decision there. So, yeah, man. Anything else you guys want to add, or is that going to be it?
I just think the gas tank angle is overplayed because it's only when he's forced to grapple. Like, and his gas tank recovers if he's not if he's at range, So.
But this is a fight where he could be forced to grapple 100%.
He could be, but when have we ever really seen Vic do that? I guess he took down Trujillo in the second round.
The Trujillo fight was pretty grappling heavy. There was a lot of grappling in that fight.
Yeah, but he only has one takedown, I think, in his UFC career, Vic. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's that one against Trujillo. Yeah. And he likes boxing so much, and he is. What the thing about Vic is, he really started to be more mobile recently. Like, his footwork got a lot better. He does go in and out of the pocket as well, but just that speed on the feet and the fluidity, I think, is going to be too much.
And one more thing, of course, I do have a decent amount of James Vick in DraftKings as well because he's a good price on there. I think he's 7,700, I want to say, so decent value on James Vick. But yeah, man, it is time to move on to the main card of the evening because first up we got Paulo Bohachina minus 255 taking on Johnny Big Rig Hendricks. And I'll start out with this one, man. Johnny Hendricks is what I would kind of want to call a spent man. This is not the same guy that went through 2 wars with Robbie Lawler. This isn't the guy that arguably beat George St. Pierre. This is a guy that misses weight at middleweight now and gets knocked out by Tim Boetsch and has close decisions with Hector Lombard. I mean, this is not the same Johnny Hendricks. He's clearly doing this for a paycheck at this point. You know, he's got all those kids, all his money investments and other real life shit like the steakhouse. Nothing really is going well for him, man. So he kind of needs these paychecks at this point. I really do think that's what he's doing it for. And Paulo Boachinha is a young, jacked Brazilian kid who's ready to become the middleweight champ of the world. And you know, it's not even just that. It's not even just the mindset and where each guy's in their career. It's a bad style matchup for Johnny Hendricks. I mean, this dude's twice his size. So I do believe the takedowns of Johnny Hendricks are going to be ineffective. And we know how this fight goes on the feet. Paulo is going to beat him up and put him down early. So, man, this is just Paulo Bohachina all day long for me. I think he puts Big Rig away quick. I have a bunch of Paulo in DraftKings. I do have 4 units on him. When he first opened up at minus 135 on one of the books I use. He opened up at minus 135. Nice. By the I clicked on it, it was minus 145, but I'm so happy with that, especially since it's minus 255 right now. So 4 units at minus 145 for Paulo. Like that play a lot, man. Probably my favorite play of the weekends there. So yeah, I think he gets it done nice, quick, violent, and early. So Z, what do you think of this one?
I actually remember seeing that you bet that far out, and props for getting the line, because Paulo is a beast. You know, I thought going into tape study, I was like, okay, let's see if this guy, you know, his experience, let's see how his gas tank holds up. But he's intelligent, man. He stalks people, and one thing that's really open for him here is his body kick, and I love how he reaches with it. You know what I mean? And it's not in a bad way. It's in a way where, like, if you think you're far enough away from him, that's where he's going to hit you with it, you know? And since it's southpaw versus orthodox, it's wide open here. He's huge. He's jacked. The striking is there. And, like, Johnny, like you said, like, he looks like he's really running on fumes, you know? He comes in pudgy. He doesn't have the same pop behind his punches. Even if Boachinha doesn't have a wrestling pedigree, I don't really think he can get grinded here. I think it's going to be tough for Johnny to close the gap on him and get inside. So, yeah, a solid pick for Paulo. But again, it's like he's so untested. Like, he hasn't fought anybody of any type of real caliber. So that's the only thing that's giving me pause. However, this is the type of spot where, like you said, young Brazilian kids stepping up, fighting a former champion on a big stage. We're really going to find out if he's the type of guy to rise to the occasion or to wilt under the bright lights. But I'm pretty sure your bet cashes, and it's just awesome that you got such a good line on it. Props for that.
Appreciate that, man. Sebs?
Yeah, well, I'm going to complete the trifecta as well, man. I'm going to be going with Boachina. Straight up, I'm going to say it right off the bat. I got 5 units on Boachina, man. Exactly what Kelton was saying. This is a bad stylistic matchup for Johnny. The way he cuts weight and everything, like it's actually a combination of what both my colleagues over here were saying. But if you see how much even Tim Boetsch, like with that Tim Boetsch fight, how that head kick was so available for Tim Boetsch, like whenever he wanted it, Paul Boachina's gonna be able to snap that shit in so quickly and fucking knock out Johnny. I do I wish I waited a little bit because I see the line on the Boachina by knockout is like minus 120, and I think that's a great line, especially right now that he's like minus 255. I think that's how he gets the job done. I was a little tempted to even play the under, but just in case it goes past that first round because of Johnny wrestling or whatever, I didn't want to play that, and I already have 5 units riding on him. But like Z was saying, man, that that southpaw southpaw versus orthodox. The body kick's going to be there all day for him. And against a pudgy Johnny Hendricks who missed weight against Tim Bocha by 2-3 pounds, who knows how this weight cut's going, and that who knows how that's going to affect him. So I think that body kick's going to hurt him. He's going to put away Johnny the first.
He did say he was sick for that fight, though, boys. I mean, it's Johnny, so Johnny just seems to be the guy who always has an excuse.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But,
Johnny also said he can eat the burger and not the fries.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
So pretty intriguing line. Bohechenia wins in round 1 at plus 160. That could
Canucks
be some...
got it at plus 235.
I see that. 240. That's man. If I could get plus 240, that I'm not saying I'd play it, but that's not bad.
Just poke.
But yeah, man. Bohechenia should have this for sure, and it's sad to see because Johnny Hendricks' run up to the belt when he was knocking out guys like Fitch and Kampman, that's one of my favorite runs in UFC history, when he was going out there destroying everybody, and then.
But it was also speckled with split decisions, you know.
Yeah.
He get a round 1 knockout, greasy split decision. So I don't know.
That's one of my favorite runs.
His highlight reel is legit.
Right, for sure. So moving on, man. This is a fight. We got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson minus 185 taking on Jorge Gamebred Masvidal plus 160. I'm going to start out with my man Z on this one because I heard he's got to play.
I took 2 units on Gamebred plus 160. I think the way I break down this fight is kind of like with Vic. Obviously, they're very different fighters, but one thing that Vic and Thompson have in common is that distance is their defense. So if he can keep distance and pick and poke, that's great for him. You know, he can circle out and snipe from the outside, snipe and pick and poke, right? Like he can just touch with side kicks and win a decision, or Stephen Thompson can blitz and catch people. But if he's in the pocket, he has some real serious flaws. He keeps his hands down, kind of like what we saw with Lyoto in the last fight. These karate guys aren't used to fighting in the pocket, although of course they're both MMA fighters. But my thing with Masvidal is he's the best striker that Thompson has fought. I think by far, technically speaking, very defensively sound, great jab, good ability to close the gap, and a good kicking game from the outside in his own right too. So if it's on the outside, I do think Wonderboy will win a close decision. But if Gamebred can cut off the octagon and follow those kicks in, Robin Black had a great breakdown, and this is what I was thinking of too. But Robin Black said, if Gamebred times the kicks, and as they're coming back, that's when he closes the gap. Similarly to what he did to Cowboy, as soon as Cowboy would kick him, he'd just eat it and then chase after him, because that's when they're most susceptible to punches. I think Gamebred can get to him. He can land bombs. He can they always look at Gamebred's fights and think that he doesn't have power because he plays with his food a lot of the time when he's just dusting somebody. But he can crack, So if he gets inside, cracks Wonderboy, I think he can, if not finish him here, because Steven's very resilient. But even if he doesn't finish him, I think the biggest moments of the fight will be when Masvidal's having success. And I lost my train of thought. But anyway, yeah, I think I like Masvidal here. I think he boxes his way into the pocket and exploits the defensive flaws of Wonderboy Thompson. Oh, that was my point. Is just like the Cowboy fight, he was fighting in Denver. He's like, I'm not going to win a decision here, so I have to come out aggressive. I have to finish this dude. He's saying the same thing here. He's like, I can't win a decision in New York against Wonderboy, so I'm going to have to come out aggressive, finish him. And so yeah, I always like when Masvidal has a fire lit under his ass, and he gets up for these big fights. It's the no names where he coasts, but here when there's a lot on the line, he brings it. So yeah, I think Masvidal is going to tag him.
Sebs?
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to disagree with my man over here. 100%, he knows that. But I do think it's going to be a pick and pull kind of game. I think he's going to play on the outside a lot. I think he's going to have to play on the outside. I think Masvidal knows he's going to have to get on the inside and work inside the pocket and use his hands and whatnot. But I think that's only going to play for how long? Who knows how? He's too good with range management, I think, Wonderboy, to let that happen for an extended period of time, and we know he's very resilient. He's got a chin on him, and Masvidal doesn't finish guys like Wonderboy in the regards of guys that are like broken down. You know what I mean? Like a guy that like Jake Ellenberg or Donald Cerrone, guys that like he has like already mentally kind of broken in the octagon. Wonderboy is not that at all, and I think he's gonna be able to pick and poke his way to a decision. I think he works on the outside very well, and I think when he wants to come inside the range, his range management's so good that he comes in with the straight right, and he can crack you, man. We saw it in the Whitaker fight; like he can just crack you. So for that reason, I think this is Wonderboy all day. I think he's the way better, not the way better striker. I think he's the best. Like Z was saying, Masvidal is the best striker Wonderboy's ever faced. Obviously, Wonderboy is the best striker Masvidal's ever faced. And like we've seen Masvidal have a little bit of problems with guys that utilize their kicks, all like Lorenz Larkin and whatnot. So I do think for that reason, I'm going Wonderboy here. I got a max bet on Wonderboy, 5 units at minus 160 to win 3.12 units, and I'm pretty fucking confident in that one, man.
The thing with that Larkin fight, sorry to cut you off, Kelton, but the thing with that Wonderboy or that Larkin fight was a lot of that was in the clinch too, right?
Yeah, you're right. No, that's 100%.
And also, Masvidal got eye poked real bad early in that fight at the end of the first round where he was starting to come on. So, I mean, it's a fair point with the kicks, but again, I think the kicks are his openings to close the gap.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think like he uses the range just enough with the kicks, but I can see where he likes to catch kicks a lot. Masvidal, that's something that he likes to do, catch a low kick and go after you with punches or try and sweep your bottom leg. So I think that's going to be his best option here to do. I see a lot of value actually in the plus 800 by knockout or TKO for Masvidal too. Like if you wanted to hedge this, but I like for me, I'm not even taking the poke. I think Wonderboy wins the decision here, 30-27.
Yeah, man. So I'm really like split down in the middle between these two guys. I think they both make great points, but this is a really tough fight for me to pick. And so originally I was pretty confident in Wonderboy, and a prop I was looking at like 2-3 weeks ago was Wonderboy by decision at plus 175. Obviously that's gone down a little bit since then. It's only at plus 136 now. But over time, about a week ago towards fight week, I was starting to get a little maybe Masvidal can do this. Now, more recently in the last couple of days, I'm thinking Stephen Wonderboy Thompson probably has this. He's just the better striker on the feet in a fight that's going to play out on the feet, man. And I think the first round could be a little scary. I like what Z said about Masvidal. He's got a fire under his ass for this fight, and that's really when he does rise to the occasion, especially against these big name guys. But I think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's a real big step up from even Cowboy and Damian Maia, his last two opponents. Wonderboy's a real tough guy to fight against, man. And so I do think that first round will be scary. I think Masvidal will get in his face and probably beat him up a little bit, maybe even drop him. Who knows? And then I think as time goes on, Masvidal is going to just get a little more comfortable in there and maybe do what he usually does in fights and decides he just kind of wants to play around with the guy. I think we could see that happen here against a guy who fights such a slow-paced, I want to say boring, but just a slow, methodical fight like Wonderboy. I think that can kind of frustrate Masvidal, and I think Wonderboy can outstrike in the later rounds, maybe pick up the second and the third. So, man, and this is actually the second fight in the card that I did throw $5 on for the draw, because I legitimately really think a draw is a big like possibility in this fight. Like my most recent breakdown in my mind is I think Masvidal is going to go in there, win a lopsided first round, beat the guy up, hurt him in the first round, similar to how Woodley did in Wonderboy's first fight. And then I can see Masvidal slowing down and Wonderboy taking the last two after the 10-8 first round Masvidal. So I'm going to pick the draw. I've never done that, but I'm going to pick the draw in this fight. I think it happens, but if I have to go with somebody, I'm going to go with Wonderboy by decision here. I think he pulls out a grimy 29-28 split, I'll say. I think Masvidal gets splitted again, like he has his whole career, unfortunately. And I do think the kicks are going to be a big weapon. Like Seb said, Lorenz Larkin was kicking his legs. So I just think he's the better striker.
Wonderboy doesn't throw those leg kicks. He throws those pokey kicks. You know?
Yeah, and I think those pokey kicks are going to be enough to score points and keep Masvidal away.
Well, one more thing I wanted to note, I forgot to say is Masvidal keeps a really high guard when he's boxing, like super high. His hands are like up here, and like I think that's gonna be really susceptible to like the body kick, and like that will like the sliding side kick that Thompson likes to throw. Just a point I wanted to throw out quick.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He's open up the middle.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
but again,
like,
he's super durable.
Yeah, and he's defensively sound, like you're saying. Like it's not like he doesn't know that his body's open. Like he knows his body's open. But I'm just saying it's an area that like he can be exploited in.
Sure.
Yeah, man. So pass for me from a DraftKings perspective, pass from a betting perspective. I kind of just want to sit back and watch. But like I said, I got $5 on the draw, so let's go draw.
And I also played did I say already I played the over rounds here? I think I didn't, but I did. I played the over rounds here, 4 units over rounds, 2.5. Wonder Boy and Masvidal, and to go over rounds, and then Cutelaba. That was the play from earlier that I had with Eon for -131. I got a nice line on there to win 305, 4 units to win 305. So very confident in that play as well.
All right, so moving on to the first of 3 title fights on this awesome Saturday night card. We got Joanna Jędrzejczyk -700 now, taking on Rose Namajunas +500. And I'll start out with this one, man. I think this is a real tough fight for Rose, man. I don't really see how she wins this fight other than the fight somehow ends in the grappling area where Rose is obviously the best. She has very tricky submissions. There has to be some kind of weird situation where it ends up in scrambles and Rose catches Joanna in something, because she's not going to outstrike Joanna. She's not going to be able to consistently land takedowns and hold her down. It's going to be a lucky submission, and that's really it, man. You could say, oh, well, she head kicked Michelle Wanderson and put her down in her last fight. She can hurt Joanna here. I really don't think so, man. I think that was just a case of Karate Hottie is just a 105 pounder, man, and Rose was just able to use her size. Joanna's a big girl. She's I'm pretty sure her and Rose are arguably about the same size here. So I just think she's 100 times the much more superior mixed martial arts fighter. On the feet, it's not even close. And I think ultimately that's where this fight plays out. I think Joanna can keep it standing where she wants to, and she's going to pick Rose apart. I'm going to say second round knockout here. Got a decent amount of Joanna in DraftKings, not a whole lot just because she's pretty damn expensive, and it's a women's fight, so early finish isn't really guaranteed. So just a little Joanna in DraftKings, but I do have a total of 5 units on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I do have her in that 1 unit parlay with Randy Brown, so 1 unit to win 1.11 there. And then I have a 4 unit parlay with her, with somebody in the main event here tonight. So yeah, I'm big on Joanna here, guys. I think she rips apart. And I didn't get her at -700. I got her around, I think, -380, -390. Yeah. So yeah, Joanna all day long here, man. She's gonna pick Rose apart on the feet. It's really not close there. Z, what do you think?
For me, yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, I got Joanna, but like, just as far as betting is concerned, I'm kind of, the cutoff for me is -300. I don't really want to touch anything that's higher than -300. So as soon as I saw this line, just easy for me to say, okay, Joanna, and pass. She's a beast, striking so fast, much more, technical, awesome takedown defense. And Rose is probably going to play the game with her a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Rose is some, bullish wrestler like Andrade, or no, sorry, not Andrade. The other one, Gadelha. Yeah, Claudia Gadelha. So like that's kind of what gives Joanna problems when she's taken out of her element. But even then, she can pull it out because she's in such tremendous shape. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty basic breakdown, but I'll go with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, easy win, but no, not touching it from a bet.
In my
Jędrzejczyk.
In my official pick was a second round TKO. I forgot to say that, but Sebs, what do you think?
Yeah, Joanna champion all day here, man. Fucking, she's just so much superior on the feet and so much superior. I think she's even superior on the ground. Her wrestling's improving every time, and I think her jiu-jitsu's being slept on as well. She's dangerous, man, wherever the fight goes. And there's not a lot of fighters I take into consideration when watching the embedded videos. But like when I watch her on embedded, she's serious, man. Like there's a video of her throwing elbows in like a sweater, and she has did you see that? And her whole sweater is ripped from throwing elbows. Like she's vicious. She's like, I know what's going to happen on Saturday when I do this, and like she's just dangerous, man. And so I think Joanna Violence is just she's going to be able to put a beating on Rose. I think stylistically this is a horrible matchup for Rose, because if Rose doesn't get her down, good luck. We saw Carolina, who doesn't have even close to enough power as Joanna. I think Joanna actually possesses way more power than Carolina, and she's actually a little bit more accurate to my liking. But I think Joanna gets his job done in the third round, and she gets her first finish in a while, man. I think third round TKO.
So first title fight, three of us say and still. So are all of
and I do have sorry to cut you off. I have of course I have 5 units on Joanna. I got her at like minus 400 like you Kelton, minus 400. Her and Borachina, 5 units, minus 108 to win 4.61 units. So I'm very confident in that one. That's probably my most confident play of the week.
So I'm interested to hear. Go ahead.
Sorry. Last thing I noticed, just looking over the lines here, is that Jędrzejczyk by KO is plus 173. So I don't really like to play props anymore. But the one time I will play them is when there's a huge margin. And so you get a minus 700 favorite for plus 173 with 5 rounds to get the job done. That's the time. If you're going to bet props, I think that's the time to do it. And also, it's like Rose does fade. You know what I mean? Like, it was a long time ago, and she's, shaved her head since then. But when she fought for the title, like she quit, you know what I mean? She gassed out and quit. And obviously she's a lot better now, but I'm just saying, if Jędrzejczyk is putting the damage on her, gets her bloodied up, I could definitely see this fight being stopped. So that's the angle I would take, just because the margin's so wide.
So I'm interested to hear if you guys think and still for this fight, man, because we got Cody No Love Garbrandt minus 185 taking on TJ Dillashaw plus 160. One of the most excited fights I've been for like all year long. This is a great fight. Obviously, they coached the Ultimate Fighter. Garbrandt got injured, so we got pushed back a little bit, but thankfully it is happening. And I do think we have the 2 best bantamweights in the world here, in my opinion. So, Sebs, I'm going to let you start out with this one.
Yeah. So I think TJ's got like just a toolbox full of sharp tools to use in this fight. I know the favorite pick, everyone's going with Cody. Everyone thinks Cody's going to be able to light him up on the feet like he did Dom. And this is much like how it's going to play out in that fight. I don't see that happening at all. I like Dillashaw a lot in this fight. I think he utilizes the leg kick a lot, which is going to be definitely a friend of his against somebody from Team Alpha Male. We know those guys don't like to check leg kicks. And something else that I think he times his takedowns very well. I think he's going to be able to get Cody on his ass a couple of times, to get him on his back and like wrestle him and gas him. We've never seen Cody go 5 rounds with grappling. We've never seen that before. So who knows how his gas tank is. He did look a little like he was slowing down at the end of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th round with Dominic Cruz. Even though he was still dancing around and whatnot, it looked like he was trying to show off that he wasn't tired, even though he might have been a little bit tired. And then he caught a second win in the 5th round, I believe. But that's just what I thought. But I think just the toolbox of Dillashaw is way too much against Garbrandt here. I think he's going to be able to utilize his kicks to keep him at distance and just nullify his power, kind of like he did at John Lineker. I know Cody Garbrandt's is more technical than John Lineker, but John Lineker might be more powerful than Cody, and we know that he got nullified with takedowns and outside leg kicks and utilizing that straight jab, and switching stances and whatnot, and I think that's what's going to play a part here. I think there's too many paths to victory. I think he can win it, even via submission if he wants, if this goes to the ground for TJ. So I'm big on TJ here, man. I thought this fight was going to be a lot closer than it is, considering the odds. And so I put 4 units on Dillashaw at plus 135, and then he jumped to plus 155, so I threw another unit on him. So I got a max bet on Dillashaw plus 135, plus 155 to win 6.95 units. Very confident in that bet, guys. How about you?
Man, so obviously, yeah, I do think this is an amazing fight, and I'm pumped for it, man, but I got Cody Garbrandt here, man. I think Cody No Love gets it done here. I do think the line's a little off. I think you'd have to be very careful betting against a guy like TJ Dillashaw at a line like minus 185. But I don't want to use this because it's a little bit of a cop-out, but it really does apply. I mean, you look at both of their fights with Dominic Cruz, it is a cop-out to say, oh, look, Cody Garbrandt, he did so much better against Dominic Cruz. His striking looks so much better against him than Dillashaw's did against him. But man, I think that does show. I mean, it's not like those fights were completely far away from each other. I think they were within a year span. So man, I just think I feel like Cody's more athletic, faster, better boxer on the feet. He's got more pop behind his punches as well. I think he gives TJ problems on the feet, man. And I think the mental warfare here has been a big factor. There's a lot going on for TJ here, man. It seems like it's been everybody at Team Alpha Male just throwing all kinds of crazy allegations at him. I don't know if that's affecting him or not, but I know one thing that is affecting him is the camp change, man. He's going and starting his own camp in California. He's no longer in Colorado anymore, so it's just a lot of big changes. Really, and I do think this is Cody all day, man. The only things that are stopping me from playing Cody in this fight is I don't want to bet against a guy like TJ at such a high favorite price, and the back injury of Cody Garbrandt. I mean, sometimes guys go and get surgeries and they don't come back the same. Not saying it's going to happen here. Not saying it's not going to happen. It's just something to think about that you have to factor in. But I like Cody. I'm gonna say he gets it done by decision. I don't think. I'll say I'll give Dillashaw the benefit of the doubt and say he lasts 5 rounds here, but I think we'll get a pretty clear, I'll say 49-46 decision for Cody Garbrandt. What do you think, Z?
I think the way Dominic fought Cody and the way he fought Dillashaw are totally different.
Yeah.
Because TJ just came in so emotional and just chased after him, played right into him so Dominic could play the matador, which is what he does best. Whereas Cody just took the center of the octagon and said, okay, you can do all that movement, but when you're ready to exchange, I'll be right here for you. And that's how you're supposed to fight Dominic Cruz. And that's actually one of the benefits Cody had training at Alpha Male for Dom, because of course Faber's fought him, all those guys have fought him so many times, they had great insight for him, and that's obviously what they told him to do, right? But here, when you got TJ versus Cody, I think TJ's mobility, the way it's not like he's mobile and then he comes in and strikes and then exits. He's striking on the move. So he's like in and out striking. He'll come in with a shot, take an angle, and then he's gone. You know what I mean? He also has a better kicking game than Cody, so that does well for him at range. But Cody has serious hands and serious quick hands. So if he's able to time TJ coming in, he could crack him. He could hurt him for sure. But where the line's at, I mean, I'm picking TJ Dillashaw, and I'm gonna have to have a bet on him. Probably 2 units. I'm hoping to get that.
Do it, Z.
But yeah, because just like I said, I think the mobility coming in and out. I mean, we can talk about USADA, we can talk about the camp changes, but really, you really don't know how that's going to affect a guy. You know what I mean? There's certain angles or intangibles that I like to pay attention to, but here I don't really think it's the case. TJ's still with Bang. Bang has been training him for forever. He seems to really like that. Obviously, that's how his style evolved. And you know, like Kelton said, man, we've got a back injury here. I don't know about all that. So yeah, I like TJ Dillashaw to light him up.
All right,
but it's dangerous. That's the thing. It's dangerous because if he runs into one of those hands, it's going to be trouble, you know. But
I think that's his only way he loses, though. If he gets knocked out, I don't think he can. I don't think Cody wins a 5-round decision against TJ. I don't think he can outwork him like that.
I agree. And honestly, I thought TJ beat Dom too. It wasn't like Dom
Yeah, me too.
dominated him. And Dom was hurting Cody too, right? Like they were slinging. It was
Yeah.
just that Dom chose to stay in the exchange a little bit too long. But I don't think TJ is going to do that because his whole game is that in and out, edge of the pocket stuff.
All right.
So
Moving on to the main event of the evening. And I don't care what anybody says, man. To me, this is a super fight. We got George St. Pierre minus 115 taking on the reigning defending middleweight champion Michael Bisping minus 105. And I'm going to start with Z on this one.
Look, I mean, Bisping's still plus 105 in Sports Interaction, and I understand the underdog play. You got a 4-year layoff, you got 15 pounds moving up, but I can't bet this because I have no idea how George is going to look. You know what I mean? One thing about GSP is he was clearly burnt out by the end of his title run. Like he fought flat against Hendricks. He was talking crazy, and he's the type of guy who's so obsessive that, like, if you keep giving him these challengers, he never gets a mental break. You know what I mean? That's why he's such a legend. But by the same token, he was a legend 4 years ago, and his game looks basic when you watch the tape. It honestly does. George's whole thing was came in as a good striker, then had an awesome takedown game because of his karate background. He knew how to time takedowns. It wasn't that he was engaging in a clinch war and out wrestling guys. It was just his timing was sick because of that blitz that karate gives you, the ability to close the gap. But it looks basic now. So if Bisping's on his bike, probably faster hands. Honestly, he probably has faster hands than George. I could see him just picking him apart, busting him up for sure. So I'm not faulting anybody for betting on Bisping. It's just I don't know what GSP we're going to see because maybe the layoff rejuvenated him. Maybe he's much more physical at 185. Images of the Tim Kennedy fight come back to me where, Bisping was just dominated via top control. And George might be able to do that, although Bisping's the larger guy. There's just so many question marks. I'm totally cool sitting back and watching this as a fan. I don't need to have action on this fight. And I agree, it is a super fight because if George wins, like it or not, he's a 2-division champ. And if Bisping wins, he has the scalp of Anderson, George, Hendo, Rockhold. Like the list goes on. He's just beaten so many big names at this point in his career. It's kind of insane considering he was like for the longest time in his career, he would beat the lower tier, middle tier guys, but then always lose on that step up. I love the Bisping story. When I got into watching MMA, he was an awesome heel. Like I didn't like him at all. But when you look at his body of work, it's so admirable that he just stayed with it, gets knocked dead, comes back, has tough fights, comes back. So for sure, I'm passing and just going to enjoy this one. But I understand the plus money on Bisping.
Sebs?
Yeah. So honestly, my pick's gonna surprise a lot of you guys. I'm going with GSP, man. I think. I think I'm a little biased.
You're Canadian.
Yeah, I'm Canadian, so I'm a little biased. Exactly. But yeah, man, I'm fucking going with GSP, man. I think he's gonna be able to steal at least the 2 to 3 rounds with takedowns. But like Z says, I don't know how he's gonna look. 4 years off at 185. We've never seen him at 185. He's looking a little pudgy. Looking a little bit like Johnny Hendricks over there now, man. And fucking going against a guy like Bisping who doesn't have cardio issues. We don't know if GSP is gonna have cardio issues at 185. We don't know how that muscle mass is gonna carry at 185. So at this price, I didn't want to take either guy, man. I was tempted to take Bisping, and then I was tempted to take GSP, and then I'm like Z. I wanted to sit back, and then I said, you know what? Fuck it. I need action on this fucking fight. So I'm gonna put 2.8 units, and I'm putting it on the over 4.5 rounds. I think that's a nice play. I think it goes the distance. A lot of people are playing this ankle that Bisping's gonna finish. GSP, no, I don't think that's going to happen. He doesn't finish too many guys. He didn't finish a 46-year-old Dan Henderson, who was clearly shot, and he nearly got finished by twice in that fight by 46-year-old Dan Henderson. So who knows how this fight's going to play out? But I'm cool with my 2.8 units on the over rounds here, man. I think it's going to go over 4.5 rounds. I see it going the distance. And my boy GSP is the new middleweight champ. Let's get it.
All right, man. So I love this fight for personally. Like I think it's the trash talk, the build up's been awesome. Michael Bisping is just such a fun guy to watch talk trash on people and stare down with people. How he just talks shit right to their face, and George just laughs, and it's just hilarious, man. Two icons of the sport, two guys I've been fans of for a very long time. Legends. So when it comes to the actual fight, obviously the biggest deal here is GSP's been gone for 4 years, man, and a lot of people say he went out on top. He went out with a win, and he did go out with a win. But let's be real here. I mean, he got beat up in that Johnny Hendricks fight, and it's just not even the Johnny Hendricks fight that he got beat up in. He took a lot of damage in that Nick Diaz fight. He took a lot of damage in that Carlos Condit fight, and honestly, man, he got out of the game at the perfect time. And like, I'm not gonna lie and say I'm not excited that he's back, man, but he should have stayed. He should have stayed retired. I mean, he left in the perfect terms. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need anything. But I guess if anything, that shows how much he does love the sport, that he's coming back, because he 100% does not need to. But and that's another thing. GSP is a really smart guy, so I know he thinks he's gonna 100% win this fight, and he knows that he can beat Michael Bisping. But man, 4 years, took all that damage. It's the same thing with Machida last week, man. I mean, these old guys, they can't come back after long layoffs. These young guys, like your Ally Quintas, they can take a couple of years off, come back, and knock out guys like Diego Sanchez. But these aging fighters that have been around for a while, they cannot come back after these layoffs and be the same. Maybe after 1 or 2 fights, after warming up, getting your feet back in the octagon. But first fight back in 4 years against the champion Michael Bisping, a guy who's made huge improvements, especially with Jason Perillo on that striking, the boxing. And I disagree with Sebs, man. I think Michael Bisping, he sits down on his punches a lot more, and he rocks guys. I mean, Luke Rockhold, obviously he got really confident and cocky in that fight, but he put the motherfucker down. Michael Bisping's got some pop behind his punches now, and who knows if GSP can even take the damage. So I'm not so. I wouldn't be so safe in that over. Although I do think the over does cash. I got Michael Bisping in a decision here. I think the first round, GSP is probably going to want to go out there and land takedowns. I think he probably can in that first round. But I think the gas tank of Michael Bisping, probably one of the best gas tanks in UFC history, does Michael
100%.
Bisping have.
For sure.
And,
Yeah.
And GSP, not only was his gas tank getting a little iffy there towards the end, now he's coming in here with all that extra weight on him in a weight class he doesn't really belong in. So that could be something as well, man. I see George St. Pierre getting tired off of a bunch of failed takedowns, and Michael Bisping teeing off on his face later in the fight. I got Bisping via a 4th round TKO. Decision wouldn't surprise me, but I really like Michael here, man. There's just a lot of things going for him. And he's always had excellent takedown defense. And the size helps him as well. So I don't think takedowns are going to be a huge factor here the whole fight. Maybe the first round when they're both fresh, non-slippery, GSP can get some takedowns. But from the first round on, I think you're going to see all Michael Bisping. I think he puts on a strike fest on GSP's face. And I think we see and still. So that being said, I do have Michael Bisping in that 4-unit parlay with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I got JJ parlayed with Bisping at plus 144. 4 units to win. It's like 5.5 or something like that. So love Bisping here. And he is my biggest play on DraftKings as well, man. I have him in all of my DraftKings lineups. GSP and Bisping are lined at even money in DraftKings as well. So it's similar to the betting odds, but I needed dogs for DraftKings, and I love Bisping, so I got him in all my lineups. So it's pretty much Bisping or bust for me this weekend, maybe. Well, on DraftKings for sure, but yeah, man, Bisping all day. Anything else you guys want to add here?
I'm good.
All set. Been a long night, eh? But yeah, man, that's going to be it, man. That's going to be UFC 217, and I'm always going to ask these guys their predictions for the fight of the night, and their prediction for 2 performance bonuses of the night. Performance bonuses for me, I'm going to give to one Paulo Bohachinha, and I'm going to give the other one to... I'm going to give it to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So I got JJ and Paulo for performance. Fight of the night, I'm just going to say Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw. That's probably the easy answer there. So, Sebs, what do you got? Performance of the night and fight of the night bonus prediction.
Well, you stole both of mine.
Yeah, how rude. He goes first.
Yeah, he goes first, steals both of mine.
I want to give you guys time to think.
So I'll go with performance of the night with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I think she puts on a spectacular performance. And fight of the night, we'll go with Vic Duffy, man. I think that's gonna be a barn burner.
Z?
Fight of the night, I'm gonna steal yours, Cody and TJ. Performance of the night, I think, goes to Ion Kudlaba. And I'm hoping Ovin St. Preux, because I think if Ovin wins, it's an early knockout. And I did end up placing a bet while we were live here. I got 3 units on Ovin St. Preux minus 158, and I've got 3 units on Joseph Duffy at 190. And then the last bet I have in play right now is 2 units on Jorge Masvidal plus 160.
How about that Dillashaw bet?
We'll see, bud.
So I want to thank both these guys for coming on so much. Real pleasure always talking fights with both of these guys. Sebs for the second time, Z returning for the 87th time. But yeah, man, thank you guys both so much for coming on. I'm going to let you plug your stuff away. I highly recommend checking out both these guys. Z, not so much on YouTube these days, but I definitely recommend following the Twitter. Sebs, he's got a real awesome show, and I know he just posted his breakdown for this card with his new co-host today. I think you guys should check that out. So, Sebs, just plug your stuff away, my man.
Yeah, so I got the Seb Show on YouTube, and on Twitter, I'm at the Seb Show as well. I just dropped the UFC 217 breakdown with my new co-host, Gib. Watch it. Let me know if he sucks. Let me know if he's good. Let me know what's up, guys. But yeah, so follow me at the Seb Show on Twitter, man, and subscribe on YouTube.
Z, where can people find you?
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter at RockstarZ, and always down to chat fights and share bets.
All right, and as always, you guys can subscribe to the channel because there's always fun videos like these getting posted. Like the video, it takes 2 seconds. Comment below. I want to know who all you guys are betting on this weekend. Always interested in reading those comments. Follow me on Twitter at MMAKelton. I'm down to talk fights with just about anybody. You can see my bets at betmmatips.MMAKelton. And that's really it from me, guys. I appreciate you all watching very much, and all you live chat participants. You guys are the MVPs, man. So appreciate you all very much, and I want to thank these guys again. Go check them out. Great content, man. So that's going to do it. Enjoy the fights this weekend.